animal pills. At this point, George suddenly had an extra good wheeze. Although the medicine cupboard in the house was forbidden ground, what about the medicines his father kept on the shelf in the shed next to the hen house? The animal medicines, what about those? Nobody'd ever told him he wasn't allowed to touch those. Let's face it, George said to himself, hairspray and shaving cream, shoe polish, they're all very well, and they'll no doubt cause some splendid explosions inside the old geezer, but the magic mixture now needs is a touch of the real stuff, real pills, real tonics to give it a bit of punch and muscle. George picked up a heavy 3/4 full saucepan and carried it out the back door. He crossed the farmyard and headed straight for the shed over to the hen house. He knew his father wouldn't be there. He was out haymaking in one of the meadows. George entered the dusty old shed and put the saucepan on the bench. Then he looked up at the medicine shelf. There were lots of bottles there. They were full of pills. 2 were full of runny stuff and 1 was full of powder. "I'll use them all," George said. "Grandma needs them. Boy, does she need them." The first bottle that he took down contained an orange-coloured powder for chickens with foul pest, hen gripe, sore beaks, gammy legs, cockolitis, egg trouble, broodiness or loss of feathers. Mix 1 spoonful only with each bucket of feed. "Well," George said aloud to himself as he tipped in the whole beautiful bottle, "the old bird won't be losing any feathers after she's had a dose of this." The next bottle he took down had about 500 gigantic purple pills in it. "For horses with sore throats," it said on the label. "The horse-throated horse should suck 1 pill twice a day." "Grandma might not have a hoarse throat," George said, "but she's certainly got a sharp tongue. Maybe it'll cure that instead." And into the saucepan went the 500 gigantic purple pills. Then there was a couple of tubes of thick yellowish liquid. "For cows and bulls and bullocks," the label said, "will cure cowpox, cow mange, crumpled horns, bad breath in bulls, earache, toothache, headache, hoofache, tailache and sore udders." "That grumpy old cow in the living room has every single one of those rotten illnesses," George said. "She'll need it all." With a sop and a gurgle, the yellow liquid splashed into the now nearly full saucepan. The next bottle contained liquid sheep dip, and it said on the label, "For sheep with sheep rot and for getting rid of ticks and fleas. Mix 1 spoonful in 1 gallon of water and slosh it all over the sheep. Caution, do not make the mixture any stronger or the wool will fall out and the animal will be naked." "By gum," said George, "how I'd love to walk in and slosh it all over Grandma and just watch the ticks and fleas go jumping off her. But I can't. I mustn't. So she'll have to drink it instead." He poured the bright red medicine into the saucepan. The last thing on the shelf was filled with green pills. "Pig pills," the label announced. "For pigs with pork prickles, tender trotters, bristle blight and swine sickness, give 1 pill per day. In severe cases, 2 pills may be given, but more than that will make the pig rock and roll." Just the stuff, thought George, for that miserable old pig back in the house. She'll need a very big dose. He picked all the green pills, hundreds and hundreds of them, into the saucepan. There was an old stick lying on the bench that had been used for stirring paint. George picked it up and started to stir his marvellous medicine concoction. The mixture was as thick as cream, and as he stirred and stirred, many wonderful colours rose up from the depths and blended together, pinks, blues, greens, yellows and browns. George went on stirring until it was all well mixed, but even so, there were still hundreds of pills just lying at the bottom. They hadn't melted. And then there was his mother's splendid powder puff floating on the surface. I'm going to have to boil it all up, George said. One good quick boil on the stove is all that it needs. And with that, he staggered back to the house with the enormous, heavy saucepan. On the way, he passed the garage. So he thought he'd pop in just to see if he could find anything else interesting to add. And he added half the following: half a pint of engine oil to keep Grandma's gears going smoothly, some antifreeze to keep her radiator from freezing up in the winter, a handful of grease to grease her creaking joints, and then back into the kitchen.